what we're going to be doing today is carrying on, basically. We're making good progress with Blocking Plus. I can quickly go over what we have been doing recently, just to touch base, and then we're basically just going to continue to add more in-betweens and figure out our timing and spacing. So yeah, this is what we did last stream. And then there was still that last little section there still in blocking. So we'll need to go through and start refining this. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll make sure that I have everything set up in Maya before we dive too deep. So we did all of this section here on 2s. It's from this point here. And then we'll see how far we get today, but we might end up starting on the rope stuff, which would be interesting. Which is all this part in here. Even if we can get that first swing, maybe we'll aim for the first swing in here, up to this key. And we'll see how far we get. Again, I just make these rough estimations as to where I think I can achieve in one sitting. But I might be able to go further, I might end up doing less. We'll have to find out, basically. But in order to make sure that that's working, I'll definitely need to turn on the rope. So there are apparently 3 ropes, which I can't remember why there's 3. Maybe I used the third one for a different setup. I actually can't remember. There should definitely be 2. I know that much. But yeah. So we're coming through, then she swings, grabs this, lands back down, and then hits the apex again. So through that section, there's a little area in here where the wire does get a bit more bent. Now, it's actually something I was discussing with one of my students. They were suggesting that if it's like a telegraph wire that's tight, maybe it wouldn't be so loose. Like maybe even after he lets go, maybe there would still be, maybe it'd still remain tight, basically. And I was like, that's an interesting take, and I might end up following that, even if there's a subtle bend, but it doesn't really, like, we kind of want that kind of feel to it, right, where it feels tight. Whereas this feels maybe a bit too loose through some of these poses when she lets go. Thanks, dude. Yeah, I appreciate the comment. But yeah, we can basically start cracking on with this stuff. And yeah, we'll see how far we get. So we're beginning to ease out here. And then we're coming through. I do wonder, I'm gonna have to listen to the timing a bit. Yeah, because we are coming through this quite quickly. So I do wonder how much this is going to transition. But I definitely want to favor the frame before. I definitely want to be favoring the previous pose. So as we're coming out of this, we definitely want it to, yeah, like I say, favor the previous. So now it's a case of, do I end up breaking the arm earlier? I might have it hit the straight first. So in other words, the arm will remain straight here. And then it's going to break up later. We're getting a little bit of a lead on the foot there, which is working well. Then we have another key in here. Now, it does mean that we're going to be suspending in the air for quite a long time. And this is something I was a little bit concerned about when I was playing back the Playblast, is I don't want us to hold in this beat for a really long time. So, but I still want it to be fast in the main breakdowns. So, again, it might be a case that we end up creating another beat in here, possibly, if it feels like we're sticking for too long. But again, we're going to have to play it back and see how it feels. So I'm actually going to put this one on the 3. And then this is when it goes on to 2s. So now we're easing out, but again, I want to keep it pretty tight. I don't think much is really going to change in here. I'll probably get a little bit of a follow through on the arm, just slightly. And then we hit through here. Now it might be a case that we actually delay some of this stuff. So maybe this key here is the previous, but then we're transitioning the arm up, so this arm actually comes up earlier. So we're getting a bit more follow through on that hand. Now it's a case of trying to see. I do want to get a lead on the arm here, so we definitely want to play with that. But we do have everything hitting at the same time. Now that is something, again, that's part of that anime trope, but I do want to see if I can just get little bits of these ins and outs. So maybe that hand goes slightly first, then the foot comes in, just so we're slightly breaking things up. And then, as for the other arm, maybe this arm needs to come up earlier. Maybe it can begin to straighten out. Maybe it's too much movement. You might just feel it because I don't want to really see the crossover here, so maybe that will actually work. And again, let's see if I can clean up some of these poses. I just don't like seeing two shapes like right next to each other. Like, in other words, right now, if we see black on either side of this leg, it looks a bit complex. So I always try to simplify this stuff where I can, even if it means taking the bend bone and just bringing it out to the right so that you get that shape instead. I think helps. Because again here, we still see it on this side as well. I just want to see the lower leg. So I can clean up some of this stuff. Just tuck it in so that we don't see that shape. There you go. So we just cleaned up that leg part there. Then as we're coming through, we're coming down here. Now, this is the part that I need to play with some of the timing, possibly. I'll check the comments. Slow, trying to break into features, but Christ, it's hard. I'm self-taught, basically, so watching you go through this is actually a good workflow lesson. I need to have a much better workflow. Just spend 8 weeks doing a shot, and it wasn't working, so I'm moving on now. Oh, that's fair, man. Yeah, I mean, it is hard making that break into features, and I mean, I got in quite a lucky time because it was just when Jellyfish was starting to like move in that direction. When they started doing the How to Train Your Dragon stuff. But I mean, I would say that whilst I'm not completely accusing of the industry's condition being why you can't break into features, that might be the case, maybe you are ready. But of course, as you know, the industry is in a bit of a strange place now, so it's hard for anyone to get into features really right at this current stage, so I wouldn't beat yourself up too much about it. But that being said, we can always improve, right? So the less reason we can give them to say no, the better, so we just continue to practice. I mean, I don't slow down or speed up depending on what I'm working on too much. I kind of just work at the same pace. Just to answer your comment about how I'm getting through this quickly. So I would animate the same way I am now as I would in features, yes. The difference, I think that's the misconception, is in feature film, because you have more budgets, therefore you have more time on a shot, but that then gives people the misconception that you end up just spending more time polishing, when in fact the reality is you'll most likely end up redoing that same shot 3 or 4 different ways. So you're still expected to work at the pace that you might on a TV show, but you might get a little bit more time in polish at the end. I mean, there's actually designated time for polish, which you don't really usually get in TV. So yeah, I would say that you do end up still working quickly. Like you don't really slow down too much, and if you do, then you kind of get stuck trying to keep up with the notes that you're receiving, because you receive a lot more notes in features. He's put in the chat, I would like to know from you, how would I know when I'm ready to apply for feature studios? I'm always comparing my work to yours and trying to be as good as you. Thanks, man. I mean, you can definitely aim higher than me. But yeah, it's hard one to know. I don't think there's like an indefinite answer to it where it's like, yes, this is feature film quality. I think that term now is kind of used too much anyway, like even within the industry with like, you know, supervisors, or when you join a project, they're like, oh, we got a lower budget, but we're still aiming for feature film quality. It's like, what do you mean by feature film? Basically, you just mean it looks good. Like, because there's no, like, there are certain ways you can stigmatize what TV animation looks like, which is probably where it feels too pose to pose, and there's not like a level of polish added involved in it. So basically what you mean when you say feature film is that it's more polished. So you could kind of break it down that way, is could you separate whatever style you're working in, could you separate that from something that you might see on a TV show? That's one way of looking at it. But when you say when is the right time to apply, I would just continue applying, man. I would apply even if you don't think you're ready, you know, because you never know. Like I say, you don't know when you are ready, so just let them decide when they think you're ready. Which does come with a level of anxiety, I understand, because, I mean, before I joined Sony, I think I applied to them every year for 6 years. When I knew I wasn't ready. There was a time when I definitely knew I wasn't ready, and then there was times where I was like, I'm just going to continue to apply to them until they consider I'm ready. And then even when they did decide that I'm ready, I joined, and I still didn't think I was ready. You know? Like, I was still comparing myself to everyone around me, being like, wow, these guys are amazing. But one thing we've got to do is, you know, embrace the process and trust the process. And even if that's the other thing, is like different studios are looking for different things. So when we say feature film, one feature might think you're a perfect candidate for what they're looking for, and another might see something different. You know, maybe they think that you need more improvements in certain areas. So, you know, it's all relative, and that's the part that's hard to know. Like, we're all aiming for this one thing, right? Where we're saying, I want to be working in features, but not every feature is looking for the same thing. So I think that the only real thing you can do is continue to practice and animate things that you feel passionate about. I think that's something that personally I think gets lost on a lot of people. And when people say, what do I put in my show reel, for instance, that's something that I don't really like that question, because there's no right answer. Like, I could say, oh, I see you don't have creatures in your reel, you should probably add some creatures, but then the feature film that you end up applying for doesn't even require creatures. So, like, what it really comes down to is animate what you feel passionate about, which speaks to you, and if you feel passionate about it and you put the time and effort into it, no doubt the work is going to look better, and by consequence will impress more people. The same way I'm doing this isn't really for my resume. I'm just doing it because I think it's fun and it's a challenge I've wanted to tackle. And if studios like it, it's great. If they don't, then that's fine, you know? I didn't do it for them. I did it for me. But the likelihood is, if there's any kind of experience, is that the stuff that you enjoy, the chances are other people will too. And And it doesn't necessarily have to be a body mechanics shot like I'm doing. It doesn't have to be a specific style either. It could just be like, I don't know, you could say, I like old Don Bluth style animation, so I'm going to try and do something like that. Or, oh, I really like the bad guys, so I'll go do something like that. Or it could be, I like visual effects and I really like animating, I don't know, mice. I don't know, I'm just making it up. So animate mice, you know? I would say do what you feel passionate about. And just continue to refine your skill set, you know, like within those parameters that you've set for yourself, you know, do your research, do a lot of planning, and then continue to refine and be self-reflective and self-critical. Try and take a step back and look at your work and see, where am I lacking? And if you really struggle with that, you can ask for a second opinion. But I think it's really important to just like look at your core fundamentals and say, oh, okay, I can clearly see that I'm not thinking about timing in this shot. I know what timing is, I know how to apply timing, but when I animated this, I wasn't thinking about timing. So maybe I can go back and revisit a shot, or just do a new one where I think about timing. And that's basically what I tried to do. And then slowly, little by little, my shots got better, because you're building up like a vocabulary, if you will. The more you do it, the more it becomes second nature. And yeah, eventually someone bit the bullet and said that they think I'm ready. So yeah, that's my answer to that. I know it's a very long-winded answer, but it's easy to compare yourself to others and say that, oh, that person clearly is ready, but I'm not, because I'm not hitting what they're doing. And I don't think that's the right way of thinking about it, because I've worked with many people in features. Some have very different strengths and weaknesses to me, yet they're still there, you know? Like what one person lacks in and another person might thrive in. So I would say, yeah, do what you feel passionate about, and then the parts that you thrive in will come forward. And then those will be the parts that you are considered an asset in. And then, like I say, be self-reflective and try and find your weaknesses and improve on those. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, it is difficult when you see your peers kind of moving on and going on to bigger things. And then yeah, the struggle of like chasing everything. And then yeah, never having enough time to do personal shots. So that's a tricky part for sure. I mean, I've definitely resonated with that. This is the most dedicated I've been to a project in a very long time. But yeah, I'm in downtime right now, so definitely take upon that. So yeah, like you say, you're in downtime too, so just, yeah, crack on with it, man. Yeah, comparison is the thief of joy. That's true. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, it's a long shot, isn't it? For sure. Interesting, you do all your blocking for your whole shot, and then you do blocking plus. Yeah, there are different ways you could approach it. Because I get very detail oriented, I don't want to start diving too deep into one section before I've actually fleshed out the rest of it. And it's hard to kind of like rewire your brain and your mindset from going like, okay, I'm in polish now, and then bang, back in blocking. Oh, I'm in polish now, bang, back in blocking. So I'd rather kind of like stay on the same wavelength through the entire thing, see it as one consistent piece. Because the other thing is, if you block and refine one part and then you start blocking out the next part, maybe the part that you just refined doesn't work anymore. So you kind of need to see the whole thing as a larger picture, and then you kind of like little by little, you chip away at it in those passes. And I think for me, that works better. I never even applied to Dogman because I didn't think I was ready. Turned out half the team from Aardman were on it. There you go, man. Like, just apply. Like, the worst they can say is no. Like, they're not gonna blacklist you because they don't think you're ready yet. You know, they're just gonna be like, even if they don't acknowledge your work through a response. In other words, you apply, they look at it, they say, oh, I don't think he's ready yet, and then they don't respond to you. That's not like a personal attack. They just have a lot of people they're going through, right? So you continue to try and you try again. Don't let the lack of response get you disheartened, And if you do get a response, then, you know, that's an extra bonus, right? Where they can be like, oh, sorry, we don't think you're ready yet. That's enough validation to be like, okay, I need to work on myself. And you shouldn't expect them to give you the answers, because when you're ready, you'll know what you need. You know, like if you can't see where you're going wrong, that's one of the signs why you're not ready. So once you start to train your eye more, even if you can't achieve what you're looking for, if you know what's wrong with it, that's the first step, acknowledging what the issue is. And it could be a number of things. It could be one thing, it could be a number of things. It could be your performance, your acting choices, which again, they can help you train with that stuff. But ideas, first and foremost, for me, is a big part. So yeah, there's a lot of different things to be thinking about. So I'm going to ease out here again to hit this breakdown, because I want this to be very distinct as we pass through. I don't want to linger on this too long. But I do want to get a little bit of that weight coming in, landing on the glass. Yeah, I'm definitely stretching her foot there. So I can definitely continue to stretch her foot. And I'll just cheat this to camera a bit, because it's all going to be screen space matched anyway. And I might even push this further. Tracking the spacing. Can I scale her joints here? I think I can. I think on these guys they're scalable. Yeah. I think I've probably gone a bit too far in that calf though. And then on her left leg, I want to keep that tucked in. This is in IK now. Something like that. Just to keep that clarity. Again, we're trying to favor the poses as much as possible. Here, I'm actually going to keep that arm a little straighter and then have it wrap round behind her. And then I might open up the hand for the landing, possibly. We'll see how it plays. And then the right arm here is just carrying on through. So this definitely needs to be favoring up. Feels a little too straight, possibly. Feels like the shoulder should also be in front of her face. And then I can play with the curvature of the arm slightly. Get a little bit of a bend in there. I'm still not sure about this part yet, but I might be able to make it work with some interesting breakdowns and in between. So I'm going to trust the process, play it through, and see how it sticks. To be fair though, since September the 11th, US visas have been rare as a rocking horse poop anyway. Do you work remotely as an animator? Me? Yes. I don't work in the US. I live in London, England, and I currently work for Blur Studios, who are a US company, but they've recently, in the last year, opened up a international division as part of a new... I think they were taking advantage a little bit of the fact that Access went under, and Access are very similar in what they do to Blur in many ways. So, I mean, they even collaborated on similar projects. I mean, Access used to do stuff for Love, Death and Robots, so it kind of just made sense that some of that team transferred over, and luckily they managed to make something like that work. But I was scouted through my old supervisor. I wasn't working at Access at the time, but I have worked for Access before. And yeah, they were looking for people for like stylized body mechanic stuff. So, but we could work from our own countries. That was like the big perk. One might say perk, one might say otherwise, but I think there are pros and cons to working from home. But yeah, I am working from home remotely at the moment. So we're going to be leading through with her head. So I'm curling the spine in. The lead with the chest, but keeping the root back slightly. Now this foot definitely needs to already be down. So this is coming around. Yeah, this is the part I was unsure about. It's coming through. I'm wondering if I, again, don't go so far to the right, but actually kind of keep it more straight, so we don't do a really big sweep with the hand. So we keep it more in this position. I'm going to lead through. Really, then it kind of kills the rhythm of the shot. Unless I just have it come through really tight through here, so we swing and then kind of hit in the back. That's one option. Because then this still kind of doesn't kill the flow of the shot and the pose rather. By doing something like this. Having the arm come through. Have a look at some hand poses. And then this arm can begin to stretch through. Now, we do have the arm reaching out here, which means I could bring this arm up slightly. And again, I can slightly release some tension on the fingers. Try this relaxed hand pose. There's part of me that thinks we just need to keep this hand straight. It's this one in between. I'm really unsure about it. I could do something like this, and then I just need to delay that arm coming through, which might give us a bit more of a hang time here anyway. But that arm is not wanting to play well with me. So it's coming up. Might be a bit too tight, like I say. I know it's really small right now on screen, sorry. Sometimes I get so focused on the spacing that I'm not even really zooming in, which I know isn't very useful for you guys. So now it's coming through, coming around. Something like this. And then I might be able to put this on ones. Oh, it is on ones already. Interesting. So yeah, I'm going to play around with the spacing on the arm because I think that's going to be too flashy. But I think this is definitely going to remain on ones. Yeah, I don't think any company would pay that much. Depends on the person. I think you'd be surprised how much they're willing to pay for visas. But also, it'd have to be for a long contract, right? Like, they're not going to do it for a few months and then you leave again. Yeah, sorry, I'm just answering your questions. Yes, I do change my poses of my blocking sometimes. As I go through, there are moments where I'm looking through it and I'm thinking to myself, this isn't quite working here. Now that I see this and I'm adding more in-betweens, it means that I need to tweak my blocking poses. Yeah, that can happen, for sure. Nothing's locked in. It's not like in 2D where you draw a key pose and then that is the key pose and now all the in-betweens have to work around that drawing. Like, we can be versatile. That's one of the benefits of working 3D. We've got those tools, why not use them, eh? We're pushing through. Need to simplify the leg shape here. And bring that foot back slightly. It looks like it's going too far, yeah, to the right. Now I'm going to cheat her knee into a position that I'd like it to be in. Because we need to simplify some of these shapes. So we have this breakdown from here to here, and then we're pushing through on the other side. And I actually do quite like this, but I do worry that that hand isn't going to read, so I might need to add some multiples later and some speed lines to get that arc to work. You might just about read it when I'm pushing it back in this direction. But yeah, it's definitely going to be tight. And then we're hitting into this. So this can remain on the 2. I reckon this is going to have to go onto another 2. This is where it feels like we're getting back into that Evangelion kind of diving perspective here. I think it's just some of the shape language reminds me of the Evas. I'm sure that wasn't intentional by Arthurnal when he rigged it out, but there's something about it when I'm just playing around with the rig, it kind of hits a shape when she's running. And I'm like, oh, that kind of reminds me of the Evas. I mean, obviously it's anime inspired, for sure. So I'm going to keep this foot back slightly still. It's going to remain with her here. I might get a little bit of that toe roll going in the back. So we're tracking that spacing on the knee. Now, I'm actually going to keep that left arm back for longer so that we get the big swish coming through on the arm later. So, in other words, this arm is going to remain where it was. Get a little bit of that arc feeling in there. I do quite like the black showing there. Just trying to simplify some of these shapes. That's probably gonna have to blend that right hand slightly closer together. Something like this. Yeah, that feels a bit better. Just simplifying some of those shapes. And then this one's going to be on the 1 here. So I want to hit a 1. So the very next key we're adding an in between. And then this key here, we're going to snap this leg into position to catch her weight. Now, because of the camera, I don't want it to snap and then pop back because that's going to be jarring. So I'm just going to cheat the position slightly. There. Even though technically it's sliding, it will help when it's in screen space. To make it feel like that was the same contact position. And then as this comes through, this is where we're now bringing the arm back. So we're going to curl, hand in. As that's passing in. Or I could arc it through. I could just do a big swipe. We could just try the big swipe. Like this. I just worry about clarity again. Because now it's just going to blink and then you're going to lose it. Which is why I was trying to consider maybe doing it a bit more in screen space, which I think will help. The black on black colors of her gloves is not helping with clarity. And that's a flaw in her color theory when I was texturing her. So I could have it like this. Just so we read the hand a bit more come through. And again, that was intentional to have the underside of her glove of different color to her legs. And it still ties in with the leg brace, if you will. I'm wondering if from here to here, we still might need to actually have that foot be closer to camera so we see it pass here. Just slightly, and then I'll cheat the leg to look straighter. Like that. I think that will help with clarity. Yeah, that already helps. Yeah, it's a little bit more direct as it comes through, and I might even be able to just scale the hand up, to be honest. Like, as it's coming through here. And then we're jumping into the air. So this is going to be a little bit of a hang time now. Now the question is this on odds or evens? 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect, it's on odds. So I can put this on the 1 as well as we pop off into the air. Sometimes having... when we work consistently on 2s, obviously everything is even. Now, if you do your blocking, and part of it is on an odd number, that then means you have to rework to keep it on 2s. You have to create a pose that's either side of that frame, right? So that's why you can use spline to interpolate between those things. So say you had a key, say on your blocking pass, it goes 0, 2, 4, 8, 10, 6, 8, 10, right? So it's all on evens. That's what we want. But what if it was 0, 2, 4, 7, 10? Now, that means that you've got an odd in there. So either if you want to keep it on 2s, you're going to have to then change that 7 to be landing on 6 and 8. So then you use the spline to blend between them, and then you rework the posing and spacing. And then you get rid of the 7. Or, if you want variable spacing, then you could go 0, 2, 4, 5, 7, 7, 8, 10, right? So then you've got 2s, you've got 2 frames in there that have 1s. So it goes 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Does that make sense? That's your variable spacing, variable frame rate. So in this case, I'm actually doing something like that. So this is, I'll just go through each key and tell you how many frames there are in between. So this is 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1. Do you put a keyframe on every bone when you're doing your blocking pass? Yes. Every time there's a key, the entire rig is keyed. So we're coming through here and we're jumping into the air. Now we are getting this big lead, but I do want to keep this leg on the ground. So both of these are actually going to stay in IK for longer. Now the question is, yeah, they're in FK right now. So I'm going to keep them in IK, and I'm going to snap them back so they remain in the same positions. So obviously one's going to push away much further than the other. As it's coming through, I need to turn off my rolls, my pizza rolls. It is funny because maybe also the Evangelion thing, maybe that's why I'm thinking of it, is because also this like purple and green combination is very much like Eva 1, right? And that wasn't intentional. I promise you. I literally googled, there's like a color theory calculator online, which is really, really cool. For anyone who hasn't heard of it before, I can bring it up because it's really good for like character design as well. But if you just type in color theory calculator, I think it's called Canva. So it's this website, so you can pick any color. It will tell you it's complementary, and then you've got monochromatic, you've got like the three different variations of the color, and it's really good for this stuff, right? And it will tell you can play around with these, and it will give you the different spectrums and the different codes for them as well. So that's where these colors came from. So it's interesting that it kind of still looks like an Eva. Now, as we push away here, I'm either going to have to go higher. That feels better already, because this feels a bit more graphic now with the feet. Like, I want these legs to have similar, like, parallel angles. I might cheat again the leg back just so we get that push off. And then we go on to the 2 now. So we have 1, 2, 1, 2. So now we can go in here. We can in between again. Yeah, broken leg. Yeah, it's just FK. Okay, switching. It's all good. So we're coming around here, getting a little bit of an apex as it comes through. Now this leg does kind of disappear, so I need to give it a little bit of a transition. Just so that we read the crossover there. And then I'm going to push both these feet to be pointing back. Oops. Just a little bit more. So now we hold into the air. I think this key here, I'm just tracking the spacing of her head as well. So we're leading through. This one needs to be a bit further back. Get the big straight in there. This pushing away. Yeah, that feels good. I do worry it still feels like it sticks. I think once, at some point, I am going to start using the 2 to 5 tool so that I can actually understand the clarity, because I'm going to need to start screen spacing stuff to actually understand if it works in Blocking Plus. So I'll definitely need to do that at some point. Yeah, when it's eventually done, I think, well, the thing is, because I've been working on this for so long, sometimes it feels like I haven't animated it. And I know this sounds like really crazy, but there are moments where I've watched back the shot and I'm like, oh, that was a cool thing there, and I completely forgot that I did that thing. So I'm kind of watching through and I'm frame by framing it so that I can actually see what I did. There's like that weird disconnect sometimes. It's funny that you say you'll be looping it afterwards, because there are moments where I'm looping back shots that, like, parts of the shot that I did over a year ago, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Do I work mostly in film or games now? I guess you could argue it's still film. So I'm kind of in the crossover right now. I'm working in cinematics for games, but it's treated much more like a feature film in terms of the process. But then obviously they're utilizing different tools as well. But I'll be moving on to my first mocap show soon. So that'll be an interesting learning curve, but I'm pretty confident I'll be able to pick it up. But I've mostly worked in film. I've only worked on one game, which was No Rest for the Wicked by Moose Studio, the guys who made Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which is why Ori's on my seat. I didn't work on Ori before anyone asks, because that's normally the next question that comes along with that. I wish I did, but no. But yeah, so that's the only game I'd worked on. I was watching the layout part 1. You was watching layout part 1 yesterday, and it makes so much more sense now. That's cool. So when you're from what perspective? Because as in, it makes so much more sense now when you're actually seeing it back where I plan to go with it. As in, like, from a layout stage, you had no idea what was going on, or now actually going back and watching me do that process, the way I did layout makes more sense. Does that make sense? Just so I can understand the comment, because it's insightful for me to understand what parts of my process also like relate to other people as well. I had that this morning. I started a new shot yesterday, and I don't know what I was on yesterday, but it looked really dope and I completely forgot. There you go. You did that just yesterday. I'm talking about a year ago. But no, that's fun, man. So we're coming through, and we just have this hang time in here. I really wanted to have this nice, like, whoa kind of thing. So we swoop up, and then we dive back down. So we're coming through. Whoop. Oh. So in here, I'm going to put this on 2s, and then I eventually might hold it into 3s, but we'll see how we go. Now, because there's a long period of time in here, and there's not much change, I'm probably going to hit spline, just so I can figure out where I want the transition to happen, then I'll clean it up after. Because, again, this is like a long period of time where it's just blending, and naturally it is going to ease in anyway for me. So with everything selected, there's a lot of keys. Look at that timeline. That graph editor is going crazy. I'm going to take these keys. It's going to hit spline, which should blend this area here. There you go. So it's coming through. Now, halfway between this, I need to figure out where I want to place my keys. So we have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I could put this on 2s. Maybe I can get away with putting it on a 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So it needs to be, there's going to be 1, 2 here, so I'll insert a key. Then the rest of it's going to be on 3s. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then back on the 2. Yeah, that works well. Actually, that works well. So we're transitioning from 2s to 3s back to 2s. I just realized I should have inserted my keys the other way around. There we go. So let's insert like this. Don't crash, don't crash, don't crash. I haven't saved it yet. I forgot to save. Why do I do that 3s, 2s? So it's to do with trying to preserve it's to do with trying to preserve as much of the style as possible. So again, this is where variable frame rates comes in, and the general philosophy is when there's more movement, it requires more frames for it to read, and when there's less movement, it requires less frames for it to read. So can I get away, if there's not much movement at all, can I get away with adding fewer keys to still make it feel like you notice the change when there is change? If I put it all on 1s and there's very little change, it then feels like it feels too smooth and you don't really notice the change. So when you have variable frame rates and you're trying to make it feel more 2D, you want to notice those changes. So wherever it starts to hold into a pose and there's very little change, I lower the frame rate. So for instance, as we're suspending in the air here, we're going from a jump, which is on 2s, and then as it slows down and there's less movement, I'm transitioning to 3s, and then as we come out of that pose, we're going back onto 2s and maybe even 1s again. So that's the concept. I mean, why not keep it on 2s then? You can, but it feels too smooth, and sometimes you even lose clarity by doing that, because if it's all on 2s, then there may be some actions that need it on 1s because you don't read it on 2s. And you can still change your posing, your spacing, but then it changes the feel of the movement. So if you want to preserve the feeling but still have the readability of your movements, then you would add more keys. Luckily, it did not crash. We are safe, guys. But I am going to continue. So we have a 3 here. So I'm going to insert another key. Sorry, it's going to be slow, but it's easier to do this for the blend than it is to do it another way. Yeah, it's partly to do with contrast. Exactly. It's making it still feel tangible, like it was hand drawn. If it's too smooth, it feels artificial and done by a computer, which is why sometimes when you watch, that's where like you can get into the uncanny valley sometimes, where imagine you had a really caricatured person, like character design, but then it's moving in a really organic way because it's too smooth and fleshy. Or it moves the stylistic, it feels too organic and too much weight, then it feels really uncanny. That's why the more stylization you add, the more you lean into stylization in movement. So it's a similar thing with this, is if I'm trying to make it feel like it was hand drawn, I don't want to make it too smooth, because not to say that you can't do it smooth in 2D, it's just it doesn't come with that, like, typically when you think of 2D, you don't think it's super smooth, and even when it is, it's not. There's a certain approach to it that kind of makes it still feel more pose to pose, unless you go into like, I think it's mostly because of time. It's not because the animators are incapable of doing it, because I've some incredible animators who do stuff that are very smooth. Like, take for instance, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is on ones, right? And it's very smooth. Like, you look at Richard Williams' work and James Baxter and all those guys. That's all on ones because it's all camera tracked, and they want it to feel like the live action and the cartoons are one in the same world. So if you put them on a different frame rate, then it starts to feel less like they're together. So that's obviously a very conscious choice. So it's not that the animators can't do it. So coming through 2, 2. What did I do then? Was it here? So that's a 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Yeah. Okay, so it's just one more key in here that we need to insert. That works well. And then we can just tweak. We can tweak it afterwards. Am I going to spline it in the end? No, I'm going to keep it on. The frames that we're currently making right now, I might make some small adjustments later in polish, but for the most part, I would say a good 80-90% of what we're doing now, where I insert these keys, are going to remain the frames that we use, and we just might clean up the poses or tweak the spacing, etc. The shot is just over a minute long, but it's 1,470 frames at 24 FPS. But you can see, based on our timeline, we're already quarter way in, roughly, of Blocking Plus. So we can get through it pretty quickly. Once Maya decides that's going to insert the key. There we go. So now I can put that all back in steps. And I can just tweak these poses. So we're coming up, holding. Yeah, so right now it needs to arc over more. I need to kind of preserve that screen space. And then we're begin to drop down. So coming around. I'm definitely going to have to do a bit of cheating some of the screen space to get that spacing to work. Yeah, something like that. There's a little bit of cheating involved. Now with her arm, I deliberately want to keep that left arm out earlier. as it's easing in, so that we read the hand coming through to grab the rope. That's the idea. Yeah, that's working. Now, this is... Okay, so this part I'm slightly concerned with because there's a lot of time between this key and the breakdown. Is the rope rigged? Yes. So the rope is from Candy Rigs, and there are 2 of them. I'll explain why when we get to the rig itself. No worries, man. Enjoy your shot, and yeah, I'll see you soon, Blade. Yeah, the favorite part's coming up. Yeah, it is a fun part of the shot, and it's the only part of the entire shot in terms of blocking that I didn't stream, which is a bit frustrating. Because in hindsight, I wish I had. I just happened to be in a Discord call with some other animators, and I just started chipping away at it, as I was only planning to do a small part to it, and then I ended up speaking with those guys for like 2 hours, and I was also with Mark in that stream, who's been on the collab with us in the past, Mark Spokes, and he just kept on giving me feedback. He's like, oh, maybe you can put this bit here. I was like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. And I just kept chipping away at it. By the end, I like blocked out that entire section. I was like, oh, I should have recorded that. So, we're on the 3 here, which is fine. That works well for me. Now we're going on to a 2. You can see we're beginning to slightly drop down. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 frames just to get from here to here, which is not enough. Now, as not enough as in it's too much, sorry. But we do definitely need... This is tricky. I think I can make it earlier, so we can hit the hang time longer in this part here. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I need the rope rig as well, so there are 2 rope rigs in here. Let's turn off the geometry. So I need to retime slightly this area here, because the timing is slightly off. So we're coming through here. This accent here is where I want this key to be. So, which does work in my favor, because then I can bring this stuff earlier. There, on that key. Why is that changing? I selected the whole rig. Why is that changing there? So strange. That key remains where it is. This key I can delete. There's something going on weird with the rope. This key I can delete. Coming through. We're grabbing. Oh no, what's happened to my rope? There. So that key here is that frame. Oops, it's frozen. There we go. There. Right, now it should work. I think I fixed it. And then this little dunk sound here that we hear. Oh, there's more rope stuff. Madness. There's so many, like, it's because the rope is turning on and off constantly. Did that fix it? Nope. Let's delete that. There. Move that here. There we go. Are we missing a key now? I think I've just accidentally deleted a whole pose. Man. Let's go back. Rip. We can salvage this. Yeah, we lost this pose during the process. Yep, Control Z 10 times. Have I documented every part? Oh, you've documented every part very well. So no need to worry about that little part. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, every other part of the shot so far, I've tried to stream. Now, it might be easier if I just add a button for the ropes. So, like, anytime the rope is on, I will just have a button in my picker for all the controls. Add a single button here. Like, I can just do this, right? And then I'll just make sure that as I scrub through this now, I can see if there are any controls like this that need to be added to that same, to the character. So we're going through any extras. It doesn't look like there are. That looks like it was everything. So now I can just go onto that picker. Let's delete this guy. Oh no, I put it too low. Let's just add a button up here. There we go. Delete that. Delete selected buttons. Let's try this again. Right. So now I can just make this bigger and call it all ropes. I can delete the button later if I don't need it anymore. Cool. There you go. So now I can select both the character and her at the same time. And in theory, we shouldn't lose anything. So she's coming through. We've got this key. I'm just re-keying everything so I didn't lose anything. Right. Now let's try again. So this goes back. If I scrub, does anything change? Nope, it's fixed. That's roughly going to be here. This one here is going to be here. There. That one's there. Now let's play it. Yeah, I think that works better. And then I reckon this can also be earlier. We can hold this. Yeah, something like this. That was always something that when I was blocking it out, I was unsure about whether the timing was working. So I had a feeling I was going to have to rework that bit. I can use Animbot selection sets, but then it's just a whole other set of criteria to use when it's all on one interface here. So it's just to stop clutter. But yes, I do use those as well. It really does depend. But yeah, selection sets is also another valid option. Now actually, I can put this on the 3 now. Again. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So, okay, we are definitely pushing forward there. So I reckon I can actually put this here. So this is another 3. So now we're continuing, but we're gonna ease out the body, just not the root. So the legs are easing out. They may even drag slightly, if anything. So yeah, there's a little bit of a stick on the spacing here. Which I don't know if I want it to stick, so I'm just going to slightly transition. That feels better. There's one dip there. Yeah, that's better. It's a little cleaner now. And then as we're coming through, I'm going to keep these legs together for longer. We can maybe begin to drag the feet back. So this is all on 3s, because it still reads, right? I can go from here to here. Oops, it's paused. No, save. Anytime it pauses, it's like Maya being like, save it, goddammit. So from here to here, you don't really see a crazy amount of change, do you? You can read it. You know what's happening between those 3 keys. There's barely any change. If anything, it's just a bit of it dropping down, the feet dragging. So you don't need to add anything extra. So that's where like the theory comes from. So then we're coming in here. I do wonder if we want to stick in this bit for longer and then it pings up, so there's like a boom kind of feeling. A little bit of a spring kind of effect. In which case, this will definitely happen earlier. So I'm going to put this on the 2 now. This on the 2s as we drop in. So the legs are dragging. I'm actually going to hold the legs back. Then they release. Now this arm needs to reach out. I'm going to keep this one to the right so that we clearly define it coming through to the left later. And then we're losing a bit of clarity on that right arm. So I want to make sure that we grab and hold onto the rope at this stage. Now, the part that's tricky with this is it feels like we're pulling the rope away from us. So her trajectory needs to go to the right, but she's going to the left. So in other words, all of this needs to continue to go screen left. As in, like, it needs to go, this needs to go screen left so that she's traveling screen right. Yeah, that feels better. And then this is where the rope's going to come in. So we can select the rope. If I were to snap it into this pose, now we can actually see what the rope is doing. So the reason there are two rigs is it's difficult to... why is that now visible? Oh, there's a weird parallel thing. So there's this thing where I can't make it a sharp edge, right? I can't do this kind of shape with the rope. It would always have a bend, a little curve to it. So I wanted to make it feel like there was a very taut and there's a nice pinch in there. So I ended up using two rigs where they're just straight and they point in the same direction. So that's the idea. So now I've just got to aim the actual rope into the hand. Which technically here, we're cheating. But you shouldn't really notice the change too much. Because it's the camera. So again, there's a bit of cheating involved. Now I will have to remember how I was scaling the stretch of the... It looks like I'm just using that yellow square, to be honest. Just getting it into a rough position. Aiming at her hand. So now I can put this stretch on. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was just stretching it this way. Now, was I using these red ones as well? Or was I actually using the whole... No, it definitely looks like I was just scaling like this. But I can see that's only scaling part of the geo mesh. So maybe I was selecting all of these as well. I must have been. Because it's not these guys, is it? Oh, actually, maybe it is. It's these green ones. Yeah, I must have been using this. So even though you'll probably say that you can't, like, you'll see the texture change, I think it'll be okay. Like, it's going to be so quick and they're quite small on screen that you probably won't notice how the coils are getting longer, like they're stretching. I hope. No one's brought it up before, so I'll take it that it's okay. So she's grabbed onto the rope now. Then she's coming down and around. Now, this is where I may need to tweak the camera slightly, because we've also... we lose, like, now that we change the timing this earlier, that camera's going to need to drop down a little earlier. So it'll be down in here somewhere. Yeah, that already feels a lot better. Save that. What theory? I missed it. Oh, sorry. I can't remember what I was discussing. But they are hiding the robot arm. Wouldn't that hurt the silhouette? Are we hiding the robot arm? Where? In here, I can just tweak the legs. They're like this. You can still see the arm. The only thing that's bothering me about this now is her whole upper arm feels quite rigid, like with her body. It all kind of just tilts to the left together. So it makes me wonder if I can just slightly untilt her spine. I mean, that already helps a little bit. So it's more like this. So the arm goes first, then it brings her in. And then I've got to hit this pose. Now we have... I can hit it on the 1, and then go 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, I'll do that. So this very next key is going to be a 1. So we're going to snap through. Now, is this an FK or IK? It looks... I think it's just gimbal, honestly. So what I'm going to do... I'll snap the legs into position. Yeah, they're just coming through. It's fine. Now, she's going to need to drop more here. Let's get her arms locked into position. So she's going to rotate her body in, and then the rest of it comes through. Now as we drop those legs, again we are kind of losing a little bit of the clarity because the legs just disappear, but I can add some multiples later. Alternatively, we can have that leg just stay back, so we get a bit of an offset, like this. We'll see. I'm not entirely confident on it yet, but we can definitely add some speed lines and stuff in there to help with that one. Gonna keep her head pointing up. And then we can bring the rope to ease in. Now this hand needs to be here. Just getting that into position and cheat the angle like that. And then we have one more in between in here where we're passing through. Now I'm actually going to ease into this. And just get a slight offset on the rotations. And then these legs will snap into position. Nice. That's kind of what I was looking for. I want to get a little bit of a transition with those legs. It might need to go on ones to read that transition with the legs there. Possibly. But it's generally working. Yep, that works for me. Thank you. So now, as we pop up, now this is the part that's tricky again, because there's a big hang time in here if I want to hit this accent, because there's a lot of time coming through here. It'd have to be a really big, like, doing kind of feeling, which I can do that, right? Where we come down, we hold spring. Again, it kind of plays into that fun rhythm, so we could try it. So in other words, this key would likely be here. And then as we're coming through, if anything, it kind of helps, because we can still have these keys and then just continue to ease in so that we read that leg coming through. So I'm just going to have these ease in. Oops. And then all I have to do is layer the down over the top and then aim the rope. So if I know that this is going to be the down, the most extreme of the down, I can now take the translation Y here and just ease this in. Just going down. See that little hang now? So there. So now I just need to change the length of the rope and aim to that. So I'm going to take the yellow and these greens, stretch those out, and then we just aim it at the hand. I think that was crossing over. Yep. And then do the same on this guy. And then let's check where the hand is. Now that rope needs to be stretched out. Like that. So you need to tweak these little points here to connect. Is there another point there? No? Where's that final control then? Looks like it's missing. Strange. Just getting this I need to get this pose working. The connection point. Oops. So many controls all in one area. Something like this will do. So now I can take the rope and we can just ease this in as well. Until it's aligning with the hands. So you get that nice ooh, boing kind of feeling. So I'm going to put this on a 2 to ease out. This is going to really hit quite hard, I think. So I'm going to put this back on the 2 to give me a little bit more space for the ease out to justify here. So as she's coming out, definitely need to swing her through so that she's driving with her hips. Keep her legs pointing upwards. And then I wonder if I take the rope here and I overshoot it. Does that work? Slightly. It's not too far off. I was trying to cheat the position quicker to get to the result I was looking for. It kind of worked. Now, just need to connect the hands again. Where's the yellow one? Wrong yellow one. There we go. That's what I was looking for. It's the blue square. So now as that comes through, we ease out. Now we have another 2 here before we hit the 1. This can ease out quite a bit. Into the accent. Now in here, do I drive the neck back earlier? Get a little bit of stretch on the... Yeah, maybe something like this. Just so we can read her face a little bit more earlier. Then see what the rope does when I use that out. I mean, it's close. Gives us a good ballpark to work with. Is that the one I'm looking for? Just bring these back. Aim it a little higher. Like that. And then, like any of this stuff that we need to clean up or polish later, we can. I just want to get the main positions working for now. So we're coming through, we hit up on the 1. Now we're going to be suspending in the air. Now, do I hold this pose and then it swings out quicker through this transition? I think that could be cool. The question is, because I think this is more of a breakdown pose, we could hold the pose because it is really cool. But yeah, I think it's gonna have to be the ease out pose. So we're gonna ease into this. Now, there's not gonna be too much of a change going through this part from here to here. It's kind of just easing in. Like, the pose doesn't change too much. Just shifting those legs together so there's no negative space. Because really, we just have a little bit of an ease out on the hands here. So, at this point, I'm going to continue to ease in. And then I'm just going to ease in on 2s. And then I can slightly change the spacing on the arms so that they stay held on to the rope for a bit longer, potentially. And then they can begin to come through. Just so we get a little bit of separation in there. And then that's when she releases there. So at this point here, these rope positions are also just going to be easing in. Oops, wrong button. So now I've got to fix some of the rope stuff here. I know it's a little tedious, but this is why I was saying, like, I do everything kind of together. Like, in this case, they're interacting, so I kind of need to work on them at the same time. But that's not always the case. Just having the hand attached to the rope. Now that hand actually looks like it's in the right place. So this guy, I can copy this position here, move this hand to connect to that hand, like that, and then paste this back. Voila! Now they're connected. Which works quite well. It's a little bit bendy in here, but we can clean that up later. And then I need to do a similar thing here, continue to ease in. So we need to aim this higher. It's tricky when your orientation is so far away from where you're aiming. I'm sure you could do some kind of like aim constraint setup if you really wanted to. And then this hand here, I'm going to copy that space again. Put the yellow box to his hand. take that blue box and then paste it back. There we go. So we got that little connection there. And then this guy needs to aim at that hand. And then we just stretch out the box. There's a connection there. And then similar thing here. Sorry, I know this is really tedious because we're just doing the same process, but we need to get those rope connections. It is a fundamental part of the shot. So we're slightly stretching this out more now. And then same thing again. Let's get that blue box into position. Copy that. Put the yellow box into the hand. Then paste that back. Then aim the other guy. You see, it is working though, isn't it? And then this is where she lets go. So this is where there's going to be a bit of a transition. Now the question is, do I have that slightly bend this way? Yeah, probably best to. And then it snaps. Yeah. You're getting that quite fun timing though. And then this is where we're going to begin to ease out. Yeah, it's complicated to work with ropes, isn't it? If this is going to be splined, it would be a big pain for the rope frame by frame. Oh, 100%. It's not anything I couldn't handle, but it's tedious as hell. I actually don't do... It's funny you say that, because I don't actually do many dynamic shots in my professional job. Right now at Blur I do, but before that, no, not at all. I started out as I'd consider myself more of a cartoony animator. Those are my roots. And then I did a lot of like crazy body mechanics that were cartoony at the beginning. That's kind of what got me hired. It was very stylized, and then I kind of did a bit of everything, but the part that I was better at was the cartoony stuff still. And then at one point, people it became very clear to me that my downfall was acting. So I started to study acting more, and then just practiced acting until the point where people liked my acting and started to cast me shots for acting, like I was typecast as, or like they would pair me as an acting person, because I spent so much time showing them acting shots. They never saw my body mechanic stuff again. And then over years of that happening, basically I ended up being typecast as an acting guy. And then when I went onto Spider-Verse, I was hired for my body mechanics personal shop, and I was doing some tests. We were developing 2099, and I was doing a bunch of body mechanic shots, and they liked what I was doing. Like, it took quite a few passes to get to something that we all liked, but we were exploring a whole new character, so that was naturally going to be the case. And then I showed my or the film I had worked on previously, which was Spirit Untamed, then came out later, and I showed the shots that I animated on that, which were basically 90% acting. I showed those to my supervisor at Sony, and he was like, "Oh wow, actually, I prefer your acting stuff to your body mechanic stuff." And then I got typecast as an acting guy again. I shouldn't have shown him my reel, because like my updated reel, because then I probably would have done more body mechanic shots in Spider-Verse, which is a bit annoying because that's like, I love. Don't get me wrong, I love the acting stuff in Spider-Verse 2, but this stuff that I'm doing like now is very fun for me. It's like the process of animating it is very fun, and I didn't really get to do that much in Spider-Verse. But that then continued on for years. So like then I went on No Rest for the Wicked, which was the game, and I was acting on that. Then I went on to Dogman. I was kind of doing a bit of cartoony body mechanics, but also a lot of acting because not a lot of the team had acting experience. And yeah, then I joined Blur, and it's very stylized anime, basically kind of like what we're doing here, but splined. And I finally actually get to do some body mechanics again. So I felt like for years and years and years, I was never really able to embrace my body mechanic stuff. And then my animation director, who I'm working with Blur, was like, "Yeah, I remember you being like a really cartoony, always trying to push things, over pushing things, and being told to rein it back. I now want you to come onto this project and push it as far as you can. Just keep pushing." But I did tell him it's going to take some time for me to get back into that rhythm, because I had like years of being told to tone it down and suppress my, like, how much I was exaggerating things. And now he's telling me to just go 110%. And it took me some time, and I still feel like the stuff I did on it didn't fully dial into it. I still feel like I was learning, and I still feel like I am learning, to be honest. But doing this shot is helping me practice that stuff. So now we're coming around, we're rotating. Now that arm is coming back, so this needs to come through. This is where I'm figuring out how I want to keep that arm direct. So this arm's going to stay back. This is almost like a breakdown from a breakdown. It's so contrasted. Don't crash, don't crash, don't crash. Phew. No, don't save the picker, save the shot. Yeah, I'm glad that even in general, like especially with things like Arcane, they've definitely helped elevate the idea of stylization in the industry even more. So it's really nice that people are embracing this kind of stuff a bit more now. There's always that trope, isn't there? It's like something new and successful comes out and everyone loves it, so they're like, I want my thing to do that too. And sometimes it can get a little stale when that happens, but it's, you know, it's because of passion. People really like what someone else has done, so they want to kind of be inspired and do something similar, which I guess is no different to me doing this. I was inspired by something that just happened to happen a long time ago, and I want to recreate something like it. So I'm going to kick this leg out because it needs to come around. The other leg actually almost just stays in the air, which is pretty mad. Just sticks there. There's something in the spine that's kind of broken though. I mean, that helps when I do that a little bit. I think the jacket line isn't helping. Something like this. There's still something about this shape. It'd help, yeah, if I weren't looking so far away from it. It just feels like her hips are too long. There's something in there that just feels a bit off. And then we're coming through into this. Now we're going to continue to ease out. So that arm needs to come through into a straight. I'm trying to lead the chest around a bit more. Trying to find that contrast. That feels nice and graphic, which is cool. This arm, I'm also going to bring back and down. Yeah, something like this. And then this leg comes around. We're getting a bit of a reversal that's happening. The speed lines that I'll add later should hopefully give a bit of clarity with this stuff. And then she's grabbing in. Now, I do wonder if this needs more time still. Yeah, it definitely needs more time to hang. So... what I could do is hang. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is keep it going up through this. This is going to be earlier. So I'm going to ease into this as we come through. Oh, got some crazy gimbal going on there. Where's the gimbal coming from? The Z. I really worry about hitting Euler filter on this shot because it's so long and one thing could like break up the entire thing. So I'm almost tempted to just do it by eye. So we're coming through. So on rotations, I'm just going to snap it. I don't trust it. So we're coming through. Coming around. See, look, it does the job, right? Now, I want to continue to go up here. That's the difference. So we're hanging in and then we're dropping down. So even this is most likely going to be higher. But I'm not worried about what the rope and this is doing right now. I just want to get these poses working. We're hanging, then it drops in. It's mostly the rhythm of the ups and downs is the part that we really want to get, because that's what defines the main beats. And it actually kind of gives us some fun exploration to play around with in here. Because we're allowing the the actual staging as it comes through here. We're kind of holding in this screen space, is what I'm trying to say. Sorry, I'm having a brain fart. As we're coming around, because we're kind of holding in this space, it allows us to read the changes more without it moving around screen so much. I could actually maybe get a bit more twist in here. Do something like this. Makes it something quite interesting. Just trying to find those silhouettes. That's kind of cool. Which means that this arm here will now be in this passing. Oh, it's also gimbaling. Great. And then we're still easing in. And then that leg can come around. Don't wanna over flex it. And then that hand can lead down. Trying to get a bit more twist to the body. And then I can realign the hand after. Then the neck can also come down as we begin to lead through. And then that's when we begin to drop in. I want to see how this timing works. Like, it's going to be really interesting to play this back. Because I've really, at this point, I'm more just playing around with ideas. This is cool, though. This is what I love about Tween Machine. It just inspires really cool posing that you may not have thought of otherwise. I know I've mentioned this on stream before. Then we get this really nice graphic shape. This leg can kick around. Then she grabs it. Now I have my in-betweens here. I wonder if I put this on the 3. I'm gonna keep the legs together. Just checking the translates. This needs to be more to the left. Then we're coming through. Now I think this needs to happen earlier. And then we hit into this. I might have to make this last longer so that this action here happens on the donk sound. It's only 2 frames later. It might give it this nice hang time again. The main thing that we're looking for is the rhythm, right? And the contrast in the rhythm. How long have I been animating on this shot? I would say if we add up all my stream totals and then plus 2 hours for the one that I didn't stream. In terms of, are we talking about from the entire project, like opening, setting up a Maya scene layout, or are we talking like from starting with the rig? Because there's 2 different answers there. From the start where you got the idea to here. Okay, put it this way. In terms of actual time, when I started the project, I came up with the idea back in 2023, like July 2023 or something, according to my files. But how long I've actually spent doing the practice, like executing, I would say, I could probably tell you. So this is, ignore this. Let's open up a new Premiere. While that's doing, I can actually show you this, because I record the entire process. So I can show you. We can just take all the streams, chuck them into Premiere, it'll show you the number, plus 2 hours. That'll tell you how long we've been executing. Because like I've recorded like the thumbnail process and absolutely everything, so it might take a minute to import those because they're quite long. I'll let that do its thing. So I'm selecting all of this. So this needs to happen later. I'm just dragging this out. I might end up meaning that I need to add some more in-betweens, but we'll see. I'm just going to retime it first. Yeah, I think this we can get away with. We might even be able to put that on a 4. Yeah, we can put that on the 4. This can be on the 3. There you go. Or do I put this here on the 2 still? Oh, that's the rope. That's why. Yeah, we definitely need an in-between. In here. On her. Yeah, I think that works though. And then this is on the 2, so now the rope and her, we're gonna queen. Let's see what. Here we go, we got Premiere here. Oh god, my timeline needs to be longer. Sequence settings. Let's say we want the shot. Sorry, I know this is a bit of a detour, but I am curious myself. It can go quite long. I think you'd be surprised. I've just got to find where it is. Sequence settings. There should be a way to change it though, I swear. I mean, this is going on. So this is 20 hours from here, I think. Yes. So that's 20 hours. Another 20 there, so that's 40. 50. So we're looking at about 52 hours in total for the whole project. Something like that. I don't know if that's considered a lot or not enough. Now we're dropping down. I kind of want to get a little bit more drag. And then we can lead more with the chest. Now, do I have that leg crossover? Yeah, I do. So I can have it overshoot. Like this. Now, what's this other arm doing? That one's coming down, catching. Oh no, it's just dragging behind. So I can have that out here. So that's working pretty well. So now that rope needs to hit down. Then you can bring it back. I haven't done the in-betweens for the rope in the hang time yet, but I want to figure out timing first before I start tweaking the rope. Trying to clear the silhouettes, and then I can reposition the hand if necessary, so that it all aligns. Something like that. And then do the same on the other side. Like that. And then it comes through. So now we get that on that sound there. Because it's such a big amount of time, I might put this on a 1. So we're going to add another in between in here. And then drop the weight down. And you can already see quite a lot of the posing is working. Because we're just in betweening. But we can get a little bit more drag on some of these things. Like that. So now the rope needs to blend in. Perfect. And then we're swinging back up. Yeah, so I think the rhythm is there. I like that. You tell me if it's long enough. I don't know. I feel like I'm going at a pace that I normally would, and I wouldn't consider myself a slow animator, so at no point in here would I say that I've animated differently than I normally would in terms of pacing. So I'm just going to assume it's okay. I'm going to assume 50 hours is okay for this. Considering we're starting, like, it's not like you've been given a story, you've been given your storyboards, you've been given your audio, you've been given your shot length, everything's set up for you, you got your environment, you just go in and you animate it. Obviously this is like brand new concept from scratch, come up with the ideas, come up with all the planning, then execute. And execute every part of the process. So the only, obviously I say every part, obviously I've picked up a model that I found online. I didn't model it, and then I've created a layout from the model to help inspire the actions. So obviously I've skipped over some of those steps. So now we're hitting into this. I think this can hit. We're coming through pretty quick here, so I worry this really should be on another 1 again. I'm just worried about hitting those beats. We're coming through. I might be able to exaggerate a little bit my arch in the spine. Need to track the hand as well. So we're getting this drag in here. Maybe one leg can kick up. That's likely going to need to be higher. That needs to go down. Just tracking my arc a little bit more. Yeah, something like that. So coming through. That does feel like it's fast, so I might actually be able to put that on the 2. And then I can add another in between in here. So there's a few ones in here just to get this clarity. So that's coming through. Hitting that spacing quite tight. I think that's working. And then we're going to ease in on 2s. Whoa, more gimbaling. Woo! There we go. And then we're into 3. So as we're coming through here, I think we can get a bit more follow through on the leg still. Create some interesting shapes. And then I can bring that arm round a bit more. Just to get a little bit more of the... Trying to find those arcs as well. Trying to separate the rotations from the translations so it's not super pose to pose. We don't want to go too far because then she would naturally overshoot the swing, but she's going to come back on herself as well, so that's the tricky part. She could overshoot like that and then come back on herself. That might work. Right, now we just need to do the rope, and then we can play blast. Just in this little hang time here. So she pushes here. Now at this point, does the rope hold? Or does it spring back down? I think it could be quite cool if it recoils back and then she catches it again. So you get this kind of feeling. Could make it feel more like snappy and rhythmic. So in other words, here, at this point here, we snap into position. So it's going to go boing, 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 boing. Is the idea. Am I a senior now? I am a lead at Blur. But then I alternate between lead and senior. My first lead role was on Dogman. And then I've moved from Dogman to Blur. So since being a lead, I've remained a lead, but then depending on where I would move to, likely I would move back to senior. No, the job titles aren't important. It's kind of more indicative of the level of experience that you've had. Sometimes, like, you can get some bad seniors, you can get some very good juniors. So it doesn't really matter what your title is, but you just get more responsibility. That's what comes with the job title. Yeah, exactly. You've nailed it on the head there, Animation Addict. A question from Layout 1. How do I transfer your ball animation to your character? I usually just match the positions of where the character is to where the ball position is. On the Spider-Verse test I did actually constrain the character's global to the ball and then animated within the poses within that constraint. But as you can see in here, we're moving the root around a lot and stuff, so I didn't really want to do that this time. I wanted it to be a bit more flexible. One thing that I did know, or that I discovered by doing that process on the Spider-Verse test, is I still ended up wanting to change the timing and the rhythm, and it meant that I had to keep selecting the ball to do that, and then go back into the rig, go back to the ball, go back to the rig. I didn't want to keep doing that. Yes, lead is higher than senior. So we're coming through. I'm just going to match the rope keys as a base to the keys that we have on the character, and then I can change them if necessary. So I wonder if I were to go back to where the rope... Is there a stage in this where the rope is completely tight? Well, we have this part here. I'm going to copy this. Just so it's straight. So here, so she lets go here. So at this point, I'm now going to create a new pose, which is going to be roughly in position of where we were. And then I'm just going to rematch those positions. Like that. Now, the only issue with that one is where the contact is happening from needs to be further back. There. And then just match the position. Right. So now we've got our rope position there. So it springs down. And then it's going to hold. Now it does kind of need to be point to point to an extent, or it just remains loose. There's one of two ways we can do it. So you can see by this point here, it's a little bit more loose. I'm curious if I were to just paste that position before she lets go. So say it was here. So that's the actual position that we want to end up in when it's relaxed. And then she comes back in and grabs it again. Like that. Need to bring that slightly forward. There we go. Just trying to match the positions. Right. So we are recoiling. Now I can actually probably just do this with the one rig. So I know that that's the position I need to be in. So I'm going to take all of this through here. This is where she lets go. So at this point here, now we're using one rig. Trying to find these angles is a little fiddly. Something like that. And then it's going to drop down. Now at this point it might overshoot. I wonder if I can overshoot it and it will work. I mean, there's already a little bit of an overshoot there. And then I can undershoot. You see that little spring in there now? Boing. I know it's not tight, it's not taut, but it kind of works. I want to see how it plays, because we've done a lot of work and not played it once. So I'm just matching these positions, and then we'll play Blast. Looks like it's running through. Cool. And then the other one. Yeah, you do get paid more as a lead. Sorry, but how is it useful to add all the timing details to the ball? To get your rhythm and timing before you start going in and adding all the details to your poses. Like, you don't want to do all these crazy poses and figure out your spacing and your breakdowns and stuff before you know your timing is working. So it's easier to do that with a ball. I go straight to character. That's what my mentor recommended, but I struggled with staging my character that way, and lots of back and forth. Exactly, so it's to eliminate the back and forth. I want to use a ball. I'm just curious how much details I should add to transfer to my character. Some people use squash and stretch if you really want to, if that's what you're referring to details, but I would say get your main rhythm working. So it doesn't have to be super detailed. It's enough just to get, I only really use a ball, just to be clear, for like broad mechanics like this. If they're standing around or they're moving left to right and that kind of stuff, sometimes it can be useful, but you don't need to go that detailed. It's more just to get the timing and spacing working. You don't need to add all the crazy arcs and that kind of stuff unless it's truly necessary to sell your idea. But I don't think it's, yeah, you don't have to go too crazy. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Cool. So now I just need to do the lengths and then we're good to go. And then the last one in here. Ta-da! Right. Moment of truth, guys. We're gonna Playblast and see how it looks. This is where it's gonna be like, oh god, it's a right mess. The only thing that I know is gonna happen is because it's not screen space, it's gonna be a bit jittery. So we're gonna have to take that part of a pinch of salt. But once we do get, like, I haven't installed the tool yet, but I'll probably do that between now and the next stream. And then we'll screen space match it. And then that will read way, way better. But yeah, we'll go with that. Also, do I move the global or the cog? That's a good question. For this shot, I move the cog, but then you also, and some people would call you insane for doing that because then, you could get a lot of gimbaling, I guess, but then also you're having to move the hands and the legs whenever they're in IK all the time with the body. But then that's kind of how I pose anyway. Because I kind of pose the next one in time, pose it, next one in time, pose it. So you're kind of moving everything together. But it can cause, especially in spline, it could get a little messy. So sometimes when you have these broad moving shots, maybe moving the cog is easier. And I did end up moving the cog. Moving the global is easier. I did end up moving the global on the Spider-Verse test, but with this shot I'm just using the cog. But normally I would use the global. The only issue when you use the global is if you do end up wanting to have the character touch the ground at any point as they're moving along the scene, then you end up having to you have to end up like world space matching the feet whenever they're touching the ground because the cog's always sliding. So that's one issue that you might encounter. The other benefit of me using this technique is if I want to, we have on this character, we have the global control here, but we also have the sub control, which is somewhere else. I think it's not visible right now. And the benefit of not moving the global is if I want to screen space match it, typically that screen space match is going to be animated onto the global. And if that was animated, then it could be an issue. Possibly. It depends on the tool, but in our case, we haven't animated the global, so it should be very clean and easy to do screen space matching. Yeah, like the feet slide. So if your global is splining, but you want your feet to remain contact, the feet inherit whatever the global is doing, right? So if the global moves and the feet slide along the floor, so then you end up having to keep on matching the feet into position as those need to remain in the same contact. So that can be tricky. So I'm just going to wind this back a bit. Just so we have something to go from, and something we're going to, which is that part at the end. We'll go to where she settles. We'll go to there. Right, save, Playblast. So this is version 41. I pressed the settings. Hate it when it does that. Thank you. So we want to go to Playblasts, version 41. Cool, so I'll give this a play and then we'll see what it looks like. It's fun. I mean, there's the idea of like momentum and inertia is completely out the window, because it's like you wouldn't hold that long and then spring that way up, and then you wouldn't suspend in the air for so long and then you snap back down. So like it's way more in feeling than it is in like physics, which I'm normally used to animating the physics, but that's kind of what makes it fun and different. You could argue. So I don't know. Well, I'm curious what you guys feel about it as well, to be honest. Does it feel weird that they suspend and like stick for so long and then snap up? Like, it does go to the timing of the song. But I kind of like it. It's just a bit different. Like, especially this part here, we're really hanging. It's kind of fun. It feels like a fish swimming in water, but we're in the air. That's kind of how it feels. It's like, I'm aiming here, down. So like if that feels too jarring, I could always smooth that transition out so it feels like a little bit more of a scoop fall in and still get the accent. Because the timing is there, it's just the spacing. Yeah, it does. That part there is quite hard to read, to be honest. So if we actually watched her follow down a little bit softer, it might help. It's exaggerated, but not unbelievable. I like that. Yeah, I'll keep it playing. I mean, I have the older version. Like, I have this version. So I'll just try and play with that spacing slightly and just see how it feels. It's literally just this bit here. So we come up. Now, I could have it continue to go up a little higher. And then it's this part here. Instead of her suspending down so much, is this contrast through that bit there. So I might need to add one more in between in here. There, between these two. So see this transition? Let's turn the music back on. Come on. There you go. It just froze for a moment. But yeah, the end where there's so many ups and downs is the part that feels too much for me. Maybe the big jump, she gets smaller ups and downs. So as she's swinging on the rope, you mean? Yeah, I mean, I could potentially reduce the spacing of how high she goes, but also I was planning on... I can always tweak the camera, because she is getting quite high here in this part, but I can always have the camera come up a little bit more. But then maybe, like you say, maybe the range of motion is just too much. But I do want to add an in-between between these two. Just so we read. That a little bit more. And then as for her spacing, So we already have this to this. Is this ease out from here to here? So I'm going to slightly lead her a bit more. I'm just tracking the spacing. And then with her legs, they're snapping together. I'm gonna hold them together for longer. Then here, I'm gonna have these legs ease out earlier into this pose. And then here I'm gonna blend them. I think that'll just help the transition, because there's a bit too much contrast. It just needs to feel a little bit smoother. Let's try that. Oh, I forgot to do the camera. I just want to try moving the camera first before I move the character, because it's easier to fix. Yeah, I do know what you mean about it feeling potentially too up and down. Yeah, it still feels like there's a big whip round in there. It might be too jarring. I might just need to make it a little bit more transitional. After the first one you're okay with, but the later ones are in blocking, right? So is it jarring because it's not been blocking plus yet? Or because you still expect them to be lower? Can we add more flexibility in these poses? When you mean flexibility, how do you mean? The first bounce is fine, but the swings on the rope feel too much. Yeah, I know, I understand what you mean now. I mean, that was... It's a little bit too much contrast on the legs. I think that's the main thing that's making it hard to track. Is this here just needs to be further back so there's less change. Just trying to find those poses. Just to read the transitions. Yes, did I watch some gymnastics? That's a very good question. You want to know why? Is it going to work for us? Oh no, my reference isn't showing. I did, is the answer. Yes, I did look at some reference. Which inspired the poses quite a bit. I'll see if I can quickly find it. It was in my edits. Here we go. You can see I slightly retimed it as well, though. So I sped some stuff up, I slowed some stuff down. But you can see that like the way she kicks her legs up, comes around, twists. Obviously she's keeping her legs tucked together, so I've pushed a lot of these poses. And like separating the arms so they both don't contact at the same time. One drags behind, she holds on with one hand. And then I came up with my own pose through this bit. And then as she comes back down, I liked how her feet held on to the rope. And then they push up, twist back, and then she spins into it and catches. So like that was very much inspired by the ref. Yeah, I mean, for sure. The legs are straight for a long time. Sorry, I'm just trying to sort out my... For some reason the lo-fi has gone crazy. Let me watch it. Oh, we'll just go with that for now. Yeah, the legs are straight for a long time, you're right. So the alternative here, I just like this posing, I think it's kind of fun. But yes, they are straight. My issue was when they overshot, the alternative would be that they continue to follow through, but then it's more change. So here, if they both came back, like this, I mean, we could simplify it so that the legs remain together. That might help. Maybe it's just too much complexity. I do quite like these sharp triangular shapes we can create with the rig anyway. But I appreciate your guys' feedback, it really helps. Let's try that. Let me turn off the camera here and press save. But yeah, it is quite... I do see your point, it is quite bouncy. The reference, she does kind of like hold into the air quite a lot, and obviously we are exaggerating those things. Yeah, it's just really quick. I think that's a big part of it. I might be able to distribute some of those frames. Like, again, we can play with the timing because we are suspending in the air quite a lot on that hang time. So I can take some of those frames from the hang, put them into the breakdown if it feels too quick. Like, it is quick, don't get me wrong. But you do feel it on the sound. If you didn't have the music, you'd be like, whoa, what the hell is going on there? But with the music, it kind of works. I can try playing around with some of the timing. I don't find the first landing shocking. Oh. Legs straight together feels more like a gymnast, and legs not straight feels more street and parkour run alike. Yeah, that's valid. You're both and you do both. That's really cool, man. Okay, that's good to know. Depends on the personality you want to give the character. Yeah, definitely more street. I mean, that's the general idea. I wanted some, like, I like the idea of contrast, so going from, like, bent to straight definitely helps. But I definitely want her to lean more into the street than the gymnast. I just want her to be agile and very competent in her abilities. And the idea is that she's, like, cybernetically enhanced, right? So she can do things that someone normally couldn't do, which is why it justifies how she's able to fling herself so high up as well. There's something weird with her spacing there on her neck. There we go. Definitely broke that. Now, I'm just going to play around with a little bit of the spacing here. Just in that little section there. So she's coming down, we're suspending in the air here. What if I take less time from this and gave more time to the drop? Here. So maybe these two can still have it, but these two we go on twos. Then it's hit faster there, just for those parts. And then it goes back into twos. That might be enough. This is on the 3. Like this. So we'll try this. I've just given it a little bit more time to the swing. And taking it away from the hang time. We'll see if this works. Yeah, it has been a pretty long stream for sure. Making quite a lot of progress, so don't want to kill the momentum, you know? Yeah, 3 hours, just over. Wait, isn't the spacing for the leg, when she does the split, way too much tucking it in back together? When she does the split, way too much before tucking it back in together. Oh, as in how much she's in this part here, how much she's spreading her legs. You're saying that's too much? That's kind of the point, right? This is what lead and follow is within animation. So it's all in, the intent is to lead with one action and then follow through with the other. Yes, you would like one more Playblast and you're just about to get it. I think that feels better. It feels like there's a little bit more inertia in there and you kind of read the poses more. Yeah, you kind of feel like a little bit more of a weight rhythm kind of going in. Yeah, I think it's working well. Once we screen space match it, I think it's going to help as well. Like, you guys will be like, oh, actually, that's way easier to read now. Hopefully that's what you'll say. But I was just seeing a comment here. No, I feel the legs move back together. Maybe you need one more in between. Which key are we talking about here? When they move back together from this to this? Or from this to this? You want one more in between here and here? I mean, this is where you can use multiples as well to clean up that spacing to allow that to read. But yeah, I do see your point if that's what you're referring to. After the split. So after the split, they're coming out. You want one more in between. From here to here. That's after the split, right? No way, you said you need multiples. Okay. So this to here. Yeah, I mean, like, we can add a multiple from here to here so that you read the distance. The reason the spacing is so tight there is because, number one, the style does that in terms of, like, 90s anime from the breakdown that we did a couple of days ago. But I wanted to preserve this pose so I hit into it early so that you favor the legs before they come back out again. So that was the intention behind that. If it doesn't work once we add the multiples, then absolutely we can add more in betweens. Like that's the alternative, right? Is we can add a frame to help with the transition, or you can add multiples to compensate for spacing where we don't read it. So it's really how you want to preserve style and you know, it's something we can experiment with. Yeah, actually blasting it works. No, you're all good, man. They're all valid opinions, you know, like it's good to discuss this stuff. But yeah, that all being said, I'm quite tired now and I feel like we've made good progress. And I said, you know, I set out what I gave myself a goal as to how much to block out blocking plus today, and we done that. So definitely one of the more strenuous parts of the shot though, so we're making good progress. That all being said, thank you so much for all tuning in. Hopefully it's been insightful and it's definitely been fun for me, and it's great seeing how active you guys are in the chat. It really helps inspire me as well. So yeah, hopefully I'll catch you all soon, and it'll most likely be some point during the week next week. So yeah, in the meantime, take care guys and have a good one.